All right, jumping right in. We're doing a deep dive today on the 5-second rule. The one from Mel Robbins' book. We got some really fascinating excerpts from you all, and it seems like this is, well, more than just a self-help slogan.
Yeah, it really is. And you hit it right on the head. It's almost like hacking our brains to get things done. And what I find so interesting is, how Robbins uses that analogy of a rocket launch, that countdown.
Oh, yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off.
Exactly. And that's the key here. It's not just about, feeling motivated, but about actually using like our neurobiology to our advantage.
So it's almost like our brains are kind of hardwired to hesitate. And this countdown is like a way to kind of override that. I'll admit, sometimes I get stuck in like overthinking mode, especially when it comes to things that feel, kind of risky.
You and me both. But that's exactly it. That hesitation, that's where the fear comes in, the doubt. Our prefrontal cortex, that part of our brain that makes decisions, gets all jammed up. And this countdown, it's like a shortcut, a way to get that prefrontal cortex going and kind of bypass those fear circuits.
That makes sense. So instead of getting trapped in, what do they call it, analysis paralysis, we use this countdown to like trigger action before our brains can talk us out of it.
Exactly. And you know what else is really cool about this? It ties into how we build habits, good or bad. The 5-second rule helps you break those automatic responses, like hitting snooze every morning.
Or procrastinating on a big project.
Exactly. Or procrastinating, yeah.
That's something I've always wondered about. Is procrastination always bad? I mean, sometimes I feel like if I step away from a project, especially something creative, when I come back to it, I have a fresh perspective.
That's a great point. And Robbins actually talks about that in the book. She distinguishes between like 2 types of procrastination: destructive procrastination and productive procrastination. So destructive procrastination, that's what we usually think of. It's fueled by fear, feeling overwhelmed, and that kind of thing. But productive procrastination, she says, can actually be a form of like incubation, letting your subconscious mind work on something without you actively stressing over it.
So it's like you're not actually being lazy. It's like your brain is doing work in the background.
It could be, yeah. And that's where the 5-second rule comes in. Instead of beating yourself up for maybe taking a break, you can use that countdown to get back in the groove when it's actually time to get to work.
So use that 5-second window to choose action, not inaction. And speaking of action, one thing that really jumped out at me from the book were the real world examples, like the story of John Walker, who accidentally invented the match.
Oh yeah, I love that story. Classic example of how breakthroughs can happen in the most unexpected ways. I mean, Walker wasn't even trying to invent a match. He was just mixing some chemicals together. And then something got stuck to a stick, and he didn't overthink it. He just scraped it off, and boom.
Like a gift from the universe, right? And he was ready to receive it. It kind of reminds me how the Frappuccino was invented, too. A simple action, huge impact.
That's right. This Starbucks employee, it's a heat wave, and he just has this gut feeling to blend up some cold coffee. No market research, no focus groups, just pure instinct, and, well, the rest is history.
So those random bursts of inspiration, maybe that's our inner wisdom trying to tell us something. And it's amazing to think that instinct, that gut feeling, can even lead to, like, huge social change, like with Rosa Parks.
Powerful example, for sure. And what's interesting is Parks later said her decision not to give up her seat on the bus wasn't planned. Quote, "It just sort of happened, just acting on instinct, that deep down feeling that something wasn't right."
Wow. So in those moments, those big moments, sometimes the most courageous thing is just trusting your gut, just acting. But, all of this is great, but how do we actually apply the 5-second rule in our daily lives? I mean, what about the more, practical stuff?
That is the question, isn't it? And luckily, Robbins actually lays out some really specific strategies for different areas of life in the book.
Like she talks about that classic struggle, the snooze button. Instead of hitting snooze and, basically procrastinating on the day, she says, use the countdown to launch yourself out of bed.
Exactly. Start the day with intention, right? But it goes way beyond that. You can use it to overcome procrastination in any area, from finishing a work project to getting yourself to exercise.
I do like how she separates the types of procrastination, this destructive versus productive thing. Can we maybe go a little deeper into that?
Absolutely. It's a bit of a mind shift, but I think it can really help us be more, strategic about how we approach work and creative stuff too.
Because I think we all feel guilty about procrastinating, even when it might be helping us.
Totally. And I think understanding the difference between these 2 types of procrastination can help us, feel a little better about it.
So what are the key differences? How do we know when procrastinating is bad and when it might be good.
Well, destructive procrastination, that usually comes from fear. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough, that kind of thing.
So it's not about being lazy, it's about being afraid.
Pretty much. And that fear, well, it can lead to avoiding things, putting things off until the last minute, and then, well, you end up feeling overwhelmed and stressed.
Oh, I've been there. So many times I've had a project and I just let it sit there because I was just terrified to even start.
And that's where the 5-second rule comes in, right? Interrupt that cycle by taking action, even a tiny step.
So instead of letting the fear take over, you count down, and that gets you into action mode. Okay, I get that, but what about the other kind, this productive procrastination? How do you know when putting something off is actually helpful?
Good question. Well, productive procrastination is more about giving your subconscious mind time to work, letting it process information and make connections. It often happens with creative things, where stepping away actually leads to those, aha moments. You come back fresh.
So you're giving your brain permission to work on it without you consciously trying to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really important to, not beat yourself up for taking breaks, especially when you feel stuck. Sometimes walking away is the best thing you can do.
This is blowing my mind. So reframing procrastination could actually be the key to being more creative.
It very well could be. And that's the beauty of the 5-second rule. It's not just about getting things done, but about understanding your own mind and how it works and then using that to your advantage.
Like you're learning to hack your own brain.
Yeah, I like that. It's like hacking your brain.
Yeah.
And, once you get the difference between destructive and productive procrastination, you can actually start using the 5-second rule in a more strategic way to be more productive and more creative.
So we're really seeing how this simple rule can help us understand how our brains work. But what about, actually putting it into practice?
Yeah.
What about things like health and fitness? I know that's something Robbins talks about in the book.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. One of the things Robbins talks about is using the 5-second rule to get past those moments when you just, don't feel like exercising.
Oh, tell me about it. Sometimes the couch just seems so much nicer than going to the gym, even though I know I'll feel great afterwards.
Right. And that's when the countdown comes in handy. Instead of getting stuck in that loop of, I don't want to, you use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just start moving.
Like you're telling your body we're doing this, whether you like it or not. And I bet once you start, you actually start feeling better.
Exactly. You shift from a feeling-based place to an action-based place. And this is true for more than just exercise. It's true for confidence, too.
Oh, yeah, confidence. There's a story in the book that I thought was pretty amazing. The one about the Cisco engineer who just went for it and chased down the CEO to pitch an idea.
Oh, yeah. Great example of, just taking a chance, even if it feels awkward or uncomfortable, can lead to amazing things. I mean, the engineer didn't even know if he'd be able to talk to the CEO, but he saw the opportunity and took it.
And the CEO was impressed. It really shows how sometimes those people we think are so confident, they took a chance,
100%. Confidence often comes from doing, not the other way around. We always think we need to feel confident to do something, but usually it's the doing that makes you confident.
That's a good point. And it reminds me of what Robbins says about being the source of your own power.
Yeah, that's one of the key things in the book, right? Of course, the things that happen to us matter, but we have a lot more control than we think. We can choose what we do and how we react to things.
Like all those examples, right? John Walker inventing the match, that's Starbucks employee with the Frappuccino, Rosa Parks and what she did. They didn't wait for someone to tell them it was okay or for the perfect moment. They just acted and made things happen.
And that's what I hope everyone listening takes away from this. You have the power to change things in your life, one 5-second decision at a time.
It's about recognizing that hesitation and using the countdown to get past it, to get past the things that hold us back.
And a lot of times what's holding us back is fear, which can look like procrastinating or self-doubt or even anxiety. And Robbins actually gives you real ways to deal with those feelings in the book.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole part about using the 5-second rule to handle anxiety, right? I tend to overthink things, and then I get caught in these worry spirals. It's a problem.
Happens to a lot of us, but what Robbins does is she uses the countdown to break that cycle.
So instead of letting yourself go down that rabbit hole of what if, you can use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and focus on something else.
Exactly. Get out of that worry and think about something positive. Like Robbins talks about thinking about something you're grateful for or picturing a happy memory.
It's almost like you're telling your brain to take a different path, one that leads to a good place instead of a stressed out place.
That's a really good way to put it. And it all comes back to the fact that what we think about has a big impact on how we feel. We can either focus on the negative or we can interrupt it and choose to be more positive.
It's about controlling what's going on in your head. But, something a lot of people struggle with is feeling ready to take action. Like waiting for this wave of confidence or something before doing anything.
Right. A lot of people think that, but the truth is usually the opposite.
So you're saying even if you don't feel confident, you can act your way into being confident.
Exactly. The more you act, the more confident you'll become. It's like a positive loop.
It's like you don't have to wait for permission to go after the things you want or change things in your life.
The permission comes from you. It's about trusting yourself, your gut, those little ideas you get that tell you, hey, this might be a good thing to do.
But sometimes those ideas get drowned out by fear, especially fear of failure.
Everyone deals with that, right? We all have those fears of not being good enough, messing up, people judging us. But there are ways to deal with it, and the book gives some great advice.
Oh, tell me.
Yeah.
What are some of the things Robbins says about dealing with that fear?
Well, one of the things she says that really resonated with me is, ask yourself, so what?
So what? Like if you fail, so what?
Yeah. A lot of times worrying about failing is way worse than actually failing.
Like that question, what's the worst that could happen? Usually the answer is not that much.
Exactly. And even if things don't work out exactly how you planned, even if you make a mistake, you can look at it as a learning experience, just part of the journey.
So you change your perspective. You don't look at failing as the end of the world.
And remember, even the most successful people out there, they've all failed tons of times.
Yeah, that's easy to forget. We only see the good stuff, not all the hard work and the times they mess up along the way.
Exactly. And the 5-second rule can help you get back up after you fall. Get back on track and try again.
It's like stopping that downward spiral of doubt and replacing it with action. That momentum that helps you reach your goals.
And that's what makes this so powerful. It's not about waiting for the perfect time or for someone to tell you it's okay. It's about really taking control of your life and making your own opportunities.
It's about seeing those moments of hesitation as a signal.
Yeah.
That it's time to do something.
And that's what separates successful people from everyone else. They don't let fear stop them. They use it to push them to do more, to grow and achieve things.
I like that, using fear to push you forward. It's not something to avoid, it's something to use.
Exactly. And the 5-second rule can help you do that. Use that fear as energy to do something positive.
And one area where this can really make a difference is relationships. Robbins talks about that a lot in the book, right?
She does, yeah. She says you can use the 5-second rule to have tough conversations, to say the things you need to say, to, really connect with people.
Because a lot of the time, what stops us from having good relationships is not saying what we need to say, keeping things bottled up.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of us. You want to tell someone you appreciate them or that you're sorry or you need to have a hard conversation. But then the fear kicks in. You don't want them to judge you. You don't want them to get upset. You don't want things to be uncomfortable.
So you just avoid it, and then the distance between you grows bigger.
And that's where the 5-second rule can really change things. You can use the countdown to break that pattern of avoiding and just be brave.
It's like you're reminding yourself that connection is more important than comfort. And that being vulnerable isn't a bad thing.
And that sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is to tell them how you feel, even if it's hard.
It's about taking that leap of faith, believing that the other person will understand.
And even if they don't, even if it doesn't go perfectly, at least you've been honest with yourself. You've taken a step toward being real and connecting with the other person.
Because in the end, that's what we all want, right? Mm-hmm. To be seen, heard, understood by the people we care about.
That's it. And the 5-second rule can help us get there. It can help us actually do the things that our hearts are telling us to do and build stronger relationships.
It's pretty amazing. This simple idea, this countdown, can really change things in so many ways.
It really shows how important those small choices we make every day are. Those little decisions to be brave, to do something instead of nothing.
And what I think is so cool is it's not just about achieving things in the world. It's about changing how you feel inside, too.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. It's about changing your mindset from fear and doubt to a place where you feel strong and anything is possible.
Robbins talks about how using the 5-second rule helps you tap into your intuition. We all have this inner voice, this guidance system, but we don't listen to it because we're stuck in our heads.
And the countdown helps you make that connection. between what your gut is telling you and actually doing something about it. It's like you're saying, okay, I hear you, I'm going to do this, even if I don't totally understand why.
It's about trusting yourself, even when things are scary or you don't know what's going to happen. It makes me think of what you were saying before about how taking action can actually make you more confident.
Exactly. We wait to feel confident to do something. But a lot of times it's the doing that makes you feel confident. Like working a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And the 5-second rule is like that initial push. It helps you overcome those doubts.
It's about, remembering that you have the power to make things happen. You are capable of so much more than you think you are.
It really is amazing, right? Just counting down from 5, changed so much. From getting things done to, having better relationships.
It shows you how powerful those everyday choices are. It's not about doing something huge. It's about all those little moments where you decide to be brave, to take action.
And, one of the things I've been thinking about is how this rule, it's not just about, achieving goals and stuff. It's about changing how you feel on the inside.
That's a really important part of it. It's about changing your mindset, going from fear and not believing in yourself to feeling like you can do anything.
Robbins talks about how the 5-second rule can help you, tap into your intuition. It's like we all have this inner voice, this guide, but we don't listen to it. We're too busy thinking about other things.
Yeah, we get stuck in our heads, right? And the countdown, it's like a way to connect with that gut feeling, to actually do something about it. It's like you're saying, okay, I hear you. I'm going to do this thing, even if I don't totally get why.
It's about trusting yourself, even if you're scared or you don't know what's going to happen. It makes me think about what we were talking about before with confidence, how sometimes you have to just act, even if you don't feel confident yet.
Yeah, that's the thing. We wait to feel confident to do something. But a lot of times it's doing the thing that actually makes you feel confident. Like imagine a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And the 5-second rule, it's like that first push. It helps you get over those doubts.
It's about remembering that you have the power to change things. You can do so much more than you think you can.
This has been, wow, it's been really eye-opening talking to you about all this. I feel inspired to actually use this rule in my own life.
That's great to hear. And remember, you don't have to be perfect at it. It's all about trying it out, experimenting, seeing what happens.
It's about, those times when you hesitate, seeing that as a chance to grow.
Exactly. And you never know what amazing things might happen when you do that.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this deep dive into the 5-second rule.
We hope you found it helpful and that you're feeling, ready to take action.
Remember, you can create the life you want, one 5-second decision at a time.
So start counting and see where it takes you.
Thanks for listening. And until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep pushing yourself to be the best you can be.